Okay, optimizing IT. Now we get into a little bit more. We've got the platform up and running. We've got a good score on the previous segment. Now, are we getting the bang for the buck? Are we doing things in a smart way? Are we doing things in a way that adds value and positions us for the future? Is it planned? First question. Honestly, this may surprise some people that this is on there. Everyone believes they have a plan if they have a budget. We consider it, do you have a purposeful architecture? When you take a step, when you initiate a project, is that a part of a bigger picture that you have, at least in broad strokes, you understand where you're going? Is it right sized? We see mistakes in both directions. One of the values that we bring to the table, I think, is really that outside perspective to think more deeply about what are the real pros and cons and what are the trade-offs. And sometimes if you increase IT's budget by $500,000 a year, you save $5 million in the rest of the organization. We've literally seen that, 1,000% ROI right off the bat. So it's a deeper conversation, but are you right sized? Scale of 1 to 10. Leveraged. We see, especially small and mid-sized companies, if you're an enormous company, you may need really very little help from third-party groups, but mid-sized companies have a benefit from third-party services, whether it's for specialty skills that make zero sense for someone to be recruited in as a full-time employee, or the ability to have someone on the leading edge who's seen multiple environments. This is the whole value proposition of consultants in general. There's value there. Advanced. So, you can run a successful platform on old tools. And actually, frankly, one of the most stable things you can do is run an old platform that's already been proven and stabilized. All the bugs have been worked out. The problem comes when you want to do that new thing, that next thing, when you want to integrate with a partner and they're using more modern tools and they're needing you to be able to handshake with them. And as noted here, the staff retention aspect, it is increasingly difficult to get IT professionals to work on older platforms for very long. They worry they're being dead-ended into a cul-de-sac for their career. Aligned. Are you aligned? So much ink is spilled every year on this topic, but it still is more difficult than people realize. So priorities have to be set in conjunction with the business. Sometimes set fully by the business. Sometimes IT is a partner, not a vendor, or not a sort of captive slave sort of relationship. Sometimes it's just a destination that the business needs to provide, and then trust that IT has what they need to understand that. And then, there may be prerequisite steps. There may be things that make it a more efficient path to get there. So business leaders, don't be too prescriptive, but do be visionary and ensure you're aligning the priorities. ROI focused. So is there a commercial mindset? And really just, is ROI a topic? Some IT groups have achieved this. It's not the way IT people are trained, but it certainly is. It's valuable, and it helps enormously with alignment if IT people, IT leaders in particular, can communicate their concepts in ROI terms. This is the language of business, right? And so I think, especially building new capabilities, it really is an investment. Methodological. Is there an approach? Just very simply, there's several out there. Agile has become so just ubiquitous. DevOps has a lot to offer. There are a lot of things about the way IT is done. I know those of you that are business executives, this is a hard thing to sort of get your arms around. But I do think it's extremely important. It helps staff be aligned. It helps your predictability of what you're working on. There's not quite the statement of work level scope when you work in an agile form. You need to think more about program budgeting than project budgeting. But it is certainly, we feel it's worth the trade-off in almost every use case. And very, very good question. Thank you for submitting that. So back on ROI focused, it does need collaboration with business stakeholders. The return on investment is not something, even if IT is thinking that way, they're not likely to have the details to know how to calculate the ROI in real terms. Okay, business efficient. So a lot of IT shops do great on a lot of these other metrics, and they've set things up in a process sense to make it easy for themselves. And I don't mean that that they're selfish. They think that is their job, right? They think that because the budget conversation happens every year and they're asked to do more with less or do more with the same, right? That is the mindset that comes from. What we want to see is, are they thinking about impact, efficiency, ROI, right? Are they thinking enterprise-wide? Because they can set up a process that is the best answer for them, standardizing, fitting everyone in the same box, right? A lot of these things come from that kind of mindset. It may be the right answer, but if the business, again, if the business is suffering $5 million of inefficiencies a year because IT is trying to save that last $500,000, what are we doing, right? Let's look. Let's open the hood. Let's really see why. Why is it this size? Why do we have this many people on the help desk? Staff empowering. So the other thing we don't want is IT to be the gatekeeper. Too much the gatekeeper, I guess I should say. On things like data, on things like can they update information even when something is outside of the normal process? Even if that needs to escalate to a supervisor or there's some kind of access control there. Insights enabling. So are we giving business leadership real information, not just data? Are we giving them information? And I know everyone has seen the pyramid from data to information to knowledge to wisdom, right? Very, very popular other pyramid framework. And I like that. I see often people don't even reach the information level. In descriptive, there are these huge row and column data dump kinds of reports that come out, and business leaders have to scroll through 25 lines to see one that's interesting. Let's do visualizations. Are we really enabling insights where you can look at something in 5 minutes and understand whether you're comfortable as a CEO? It's on autopilot. You can let it go. Great use of KPIs, by the way, to let CEOs pick their spots. Or is that KPI flashing yellow for you, and you want to call a meeting or ask a question to dive in more deeply? You have to be able to make those assessments quickly, easily, intuitively, and again, not scrolling through some large, 50-row report to find the one row that seems out of whack to you. Okay, so that's optimizing. You score really well on these things. That means you really, in our terminology, you have achieved efficiency. You're running a successful IT platform.